Hello students, welcome to the English class. Today we will be discussing the drama of your book Mother's Day, and students, it is quite interesting drama, and here in this drama we will learn about the importance of mother whom we consider as for granted. Okay, it is written by J.B. Priestley. So let us discuss about the main characters of the play. First of all, Mrs. Annie Pearson, then Mrs. George Pearson, then Doris, then Cyril, and then Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, let's start with the play. So let us see the first of all the scene. The living room of the Pearson family, afternoon. It is a comfortably furnished, much lived in room in a small suburban semi-detached villa. If necessary, only one door needs to be used, but it's better two. When up left leading to the front door and the stairs, and the other in the right wall leading to the kitchen and the back door. There can be a muslin covered window in the left wall and possibly one in the right wall too. The fireplace is assumed to be in the fourth wall. There is a set upright, an armchair down left and one down right. The small table with two chairs on either side of it stands at the center. When the curtain rises, it is an afternoon in early autumn and the stage can be well lit. Mrs. Pearson at right and Mrs. Fitzgerald at the left are sitting opposite each other at the small table, on which are the two teacups and saucers and the cards with which Mrs. Fitzgerald has been telling Mrs. Pearson her future. Mrs. Pearson is a pleasant but worried looking woman in her 40s. Mrs. Fitzgerald is older, heavier, and a strong and sinister personality. He is smoking. It is very important that these two should have sharply contrasting voices. Mrs. Pearson, speaking in a light, flurried sort of tone, with a touch of suburban cockney, perhaps, and Mrs. Fitzgerald with a deep voice, rather Irish, perhaps. And that's all I can tell you, Mrs. Pearson. Could be a good future, could be a bad one, all depends on yourself. Make up your mind, and there it is. So, Mrs. Fitzgerald is giving some of the tips to live a better life to Mrs. Pearson, as we can see. Yes, thank you. I am much obliged. I'm sure it's wonderful having a real fortune teller living next door. Did you learn that out east too? Yes, I did. 12 years I had of it, with my old man rising to be lieutenant, quartermaster. He learned a lot and I learned a lot more. But will you make up your mind now, Mrs. Pearson dear? Put your foot down once for all and be the mistress of your own house, on the boss of your own family. That's easier said than done. Besides, I am so fond of them. Even if they are so thoughtless and selfish, they don't mean to be. So Mrs. Pearson just says to Mrs. Fitzgerald that whatever you are saying is good to hear, but it is very difficult to be followed. But and on the other side, she just says that whatever the behavior of her family members is towards her, they just don't want to behave like this. Maybe not, but it would be better for them if they learn to treat you properly. So here we can say that Mrs. Fitzgerald is telling Mrs. Pearson that you yourself can make your life better by following the tips which she is giving to her. Yes, I suppose it would in a way. No doubt about it at all. Who is the better for being spoiled, grown man, lad, or girl? Nobody. You think it does them good when you run after them all the time. Take their orders as if you were the servant in the house. Stay at home every night while they go out enjoying themselves. Never in all your life it's the ruin of them as well as you. Husbands, sons, daughters should be taking notice of wives and mothers, not giving them orders and treating them like dirt. And don't tell me you don't know what I mean. Foreign no more than you have told me. So Mrs. Fitzgerald just trying to tell Mrs. Pearson that mother doesn't mean to be a servant of the family. Mother means the person who takes care of others, and other rest of the family members do respect that lady. I keep dropping a hint. So here Mrs. Pearson is saying that I used to keep dropping the hint regarding it to my family members. Hint, it's more than hints your family needs, Mrs. Pearson. But Mrs. Fitzgerald is not happy with this, and she says that your family requires much more than a hint because they don't consider you as a member of a family, even. I suppose it is, but I do hate any unpleasantness, and it's so hard to know where to start. I keep making you my mind to have it out with them, but somehow I don't know how to begin. She glances at her watch or at the clock. Oh, good gracious, look at the time. Nothing ready, and they will be home any minute, and probably all in a hurry and to go out again. So Mrs. Pearson too shares her misery with Mrs. Fitzgerald, but she just shared that she doesn't know from where she should begin to get the proper place in the family. Then all of a sudden she looks towards the watch and become very conscious about the time because all the family members were about to come, and she says that all will be in a hurry and I have to prepare lunch for them. As she is about to rise, Mrs. Fitzgerald reaches out across the table and pulls her down. Let them wait a look after themselves for once. This is where your foot goes down. Start now. She lights a cigarette from the one she has just finished. And when Mrs. Pearson was about to get up to prepare the lunch, then Mrs. Fitzgerald pulls her hand down and asks her, you just stop and let them do their things by themselves. Mrs. Fitzgerald, I know you mean well. In fact, I agree with you, but I just cannot, and it's no use you trying to make me. If you promise you I would really have it out with them, I know I would not be able to keep my promise. So Mrs. Pearson just tells Mrs. Fitzgerald that even if you tell me the tricks, even if you tell me the way, I won't be able to follow the way. Then let me do it. So this dialogue is said by Mrs. Fitzgerald, and she says that if Mrs. Pearson you won't be able to do anything, then let me do it for you. No, thank you very much, Mrs. Fitzgerald, but that would not do at all. It couldn't possibly be somebody else. They would resent at once and would not listen, and really I could not blame them. I know I ought to do it, but you see how it is. She looks apologetically across the table, smiling rather miserably. So Mrs. Fitzgerald just says that Mrs. Pearson just says that Mrs. Fitzgerald, whatever you are saying, it is good to hear, but it is quite difficult to follow. You have not got the idea. So something else is going in the mind of Mrs. Fitzgerald. Therefore, she just says to Mrs. Pearson that you didn't understand what I mean to say. I'm sorry, I thought you asked me to let you do it. So Mrs. Pearson just apologized in front of Mrs. Fitzgerald and she says that I'm sorry, I misunderstood the things what you want to say. I did, but not as me, as you. So Mrs. Fitzgerald tells Mrs. Pearson that I will do it for you, but not as you, but it will be done by me. Then Mrs. Pearson says that, but I don't understand, you couldn't be me. Then Mrs. Fitzgerald clearly explains that we change places or really bodies. You look like me, I look like you. Then Mrs. Pearson is quite worried and she says that, but that's impossible. Mrs. Fitzgerald says, how do you know? Ever tried it? Then Mrs. Pearson says that, no, of course not. Then Mrs. Fitzgerald very coolly says that I have. Means she has tried it earlier also, not for some time, but it still ought to work. Won't last long, but long enough for what we want to do. Learned it out east, of course, where they are up to all these tricks. She holds her hand out across the table, keeping the cigarette in her mouth. Gim your hands, dear. Means Mrs. Fitzgerald says that she has learned this art from the East and she just asked Mrs. Pearson to give her hand to Mrs. Fitzgerald so that she can work over it. Mrs. Pearson, she was quite dubiously, well, I don't know, is it right? Then Mrs. Fitzgerald says that it's your only chance. Give me your hands and keep quiet a minute. Just don't think about anything. Taking her hands, now look at me. They stare at each other, muttering, Ashtadam, Ashtadam, Ashtalam, Ashta, Lambdam, Bona. So, Mrs. Fitzgerald just speak out some of the magical words and they just interchange their personalities. This little scene should be acted very carefully. We are to assume that the personalities changed bodies after the spell has been spoken. Both women, still grasping hands, go lax as if the life were out of them. So, these are the instructions by which the play should be enacted. Okay, let us move forward. Then both come to life but with the personality of the other. Each must try to adopt the voice and mannerisms of the other. So now Mrs. Pearson is bold and dominating and Mrs. Fitzgerald is nervous and fluttering. So as we know that both of them, Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald, have changed their personality. So all the qualities of Mrs. Pearson comes in Mrs. Fitzgerald and all the bold and dominating nature of Mrs. Fitzgerald transferred into Mrs. Pearson. Mrs. Pearson then says that now with Mrs. Fitzgerald's personality, she says that, see what I mean, dear. She notices the cigarette. Here, you don't want that. She snatches it and puts it in her own mouth, puffing contentedly. And then Mrs. Fitzgerald, now with Mrs. Pearson's personality, she looks down at herself and sees that her body has changed and gives a scream of fright. So Mrs. Fitzgerald was quite healthy, and now when she looks towards her body, then she was quite pretty and smart, just like Mrs. Pearson. Then therefore she just screamed. Then Mrs. Fitzgerald says that, oh, it's happened. Then Mrs. Pearson complacently says that, of course, it's happened. Very neat. Didn't know I had it in me. Then let me tell you the meaning of complacently. It means that showing smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. Mrs. Fitzgerald alarmed Mrs. Pearson by saying that, "But whatever shall I do, Mrs. Fitzgerald? George and the children can't see me like this." Then Mrs. Pearson grimly says that they aren't going to. That's the point. They will have me to deal with, only they won't know it. Mrs. Fitzgerald, still alarmed, "But what if we can't change back? It would be terrible." So now we know that Mrs. Pearson has become Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Fitzgerald has become Mrs. Pearson. They have exchanged their personalities. So now Mrs. Fitzgerald is getting worried when she is thinking that if they will not be able to exchange the personalities again, then it will be a terrible thing. Now let's see what Mrs. Pearson says. "Here, steady, Mrs. Pearson, if you had to live my life, it wouldn't be so bad. You'd have more fun as me than you have had as you." Then Mrs. Fitzgerald says, "Yes, but I don't want to be anybody else," because she was happy with her own identity. Then Mrs. Pearson says, "Now stop worrying. It's easier changing back. I can do it anytime we want." Mrs. Fitzgerald, "Well, do it now." So when Mrs. Fitzgerald get to know that it is easy to change the personalities again, so she requested Mrs. Pearson to please change it right now. Then Mrs. Pearson says that, "Not likely. I have got to deal with your family first. That's the idea, isn't it? Didn't know how to begin with M, you said. Well, I'll show you." Mrs. Fitzgerald says that, "But what am I going to do?" Then Mrs. Pearson says, "Go into my house for a bit. There's nobody there. Then pop back and see how we are doing. You ought to enjoy it. Better get off now before one of them comes." Then Mrs. Fitzgerald nervously rising, "Yes, I suppose that's best. You are sure it will be all right?" So here you all must understand that Mrs. Fitzgerald is Mrs. Pearson. So Mrs. Pearson is chuckling and it will be wonderful. "Now off you go, dear." Mrs. Fitzgerald crosses and hurries out through the door right. Left to her, Mrs. Pearson smokes away, lighting another cigarette, and begins laying out the cards for patience on the table. So students, this is the half part of the play Miss Mother's Day. We will continue the play in the next part. Till then, read the drama once again and enjoy it. Thank you.